Okay, 39. Sample survey funded by the National Science Foundation asks this random sample of American adults about biological evolution. One question asks humans true, false, or not sure about the statement. Human beings, as we know them today, developed from earlier species of animals. Of the 1484 respondents, 594 said true. What can you say with 95% confidence about the percent of all adults who think that humans developed from earlier species of animals? Well, we got 594 out of 1484. So 594 divided by 1484. Oops. 594. I'm doing on the calculator on the side here. 1484. That's 40% said yes, or true. What can you say with 95% confidence? So assuming the conditions are all met, as always with these, we have p hat plus or minus 95%, 1.960, square root of p hat q hat over n. So that's going to be, oops, I should know this number by now. I don't. 1 prop z interval, A. It's going to be 594, and you guys probably like, okay, enough of these. Let's see, this was 95%. Oops. 0.95. Calculate. 37.5 and 42.5. 37.5 and 42.5. I think I got that right. 42.5, yep. Okay, so I'm 95% confident between, oops, that the true proportion of people who think humans developed from earlier animals is between 37.5%, oops, and 42.5%. Good. So there we go on 40 or 39. So let's take a look at 41. Same question. Does the sample give good evidence that fewer than half think that humans developed from earlier species? Well, it sure seems like it, because we showed that the population proportion is somewhere in this interval. But let's do a hypothesis test. And the hypothesis test would be P is 0.5, and the alternative, we want to show P is less than 0.5. We're trying to see if we have evidence for that. And the conditions, we're going to assume simple random sample. We're going to assume the data is independent. And thirdly, we have n is large. In other words, it's greater than 40, so we're okay on that one. Okay. Now, let's do the test. Okay. The test, we can just do a 1 proportion z test with p0 is h0 is 0.5. X is, oh look at my data still in here from the conf 0. 594 out of 1484 said yes, and we want less than h0, which is p0. Calculate. So then z would be negative 7.7, and my p value is going to be 0.4 that's p hat. P is equal to 0. Okay, so that's just not going to happen by chance, or just by chance. So since the p-value is less than 5%, this is crazy strong evidence that the proportion of people who think we evolved from other animals is less than 50%. Okay, and last but not least, 42. Does the data in 40 give good reason to conclude that more than half the Hispanic female drivers wear seatbelt? More than half. Well, let's look at 40. 40 says the proportion of drivers who use seatbelts depends on things like age, gender, ethnicity, and local laws. Part of a broader study, investigators took a random of 117 female Hispanic drivers in Boston. 68 were wearing seatbelts. Give a 95% confidence interval for the proportion of all. Okay, so we don't have to do that. We just want to answer this question. So H0, we're going to assume P is 50%, and HA, we want to know, do we have evidence that P is greater than 0.5? And what's my sample here? I've got that 68 of 117, so 68 divided by 117, that's going to be 58% wore seatbelts. Now, did this happen just by chance, or is that really evidence that the true proportion of Hispanics in Boston is greater than 50% that wear seatbelts? That's really what's being asked, right? Okay, so conditions, those are the same as this over here. Okay, so I'm not going to repeat it. But we're assuming a random sample, the data is independent, and n is large, it's 117, so we're good on that. So we're going to go ahead and do the test. So my test is going to be stat tests 1 proportion z test. P0 is 0.5, x is 68 out of 117. Proportion is greater than 0.5 this time. Calculate. Okay, and my z is 1.76, and the p-value is 0.0 or 3.9%. So that means I have a 3.9% chance of getting a p hat, a sample that big by chance. Okay, that's pretty small because that's less than my cutoff of 5% that makes me go, oh, that's not likely to happen by chance. Okay, so since 3.9% is less than 5%, I have evidence that the percent of Hispanics who wear seat belts in Boston, sorry about my sloppy writing, is in fact greater than 50%. Okay, there we go. And that is it for Chapter 19 homework.